So I'm Julie Bogart. I'm from Brave Writer, which is an online writing and language arts program for homeschooling families. And what we do is provide language arts materials, online writing courses, and manuals to help parents instruct their kids in the art of writing. And we do it through building healthy relationships between the parent and the child. I also have a coaching community, which is called the Homeschool Alliance. And the purpose of that is to give you support, supervision, and fun challenges, both in the areas of home education and self-care. If you're interested in more about that, look up CoachJulieBogart.com. Okay, I think I brought my, let me see. Oh, I did. I always forget to reach everything easily. So I'm going to just do this first. So I'm from bravewriter.com. So if you want to know more about our writing programs, go there. And if you want to know more about the coaching program, go here. So if you are new to Periscope, you're doing it right if you can hear and see me. And then if you want to join in the heart tapping fun, just start tapping the screen with your finger and all those colorful hearts will go up on the side of your screen and you can join in that fun. We broke 800,000 hearts on the last Periscope. I'm going for 1 million, so tap away. If you stop seeing hearts come, it means you've given me 500. You can hop out of the broadcast and hop back in and give 500 more. I know some of your kids like to tap the screen, so that's super fun. And thank you for all the comments. If you want to share this broadcast with your perfectionist friends, now's a great time to do it. What you want to do is do what Red Gypsy did, which is our wonderful Tia, who ran the 12 Days of Brave Writer. So you want to swipe to the right, tap on the share button, and select how you want to share, Twitter, Facebook, or with your Periscope followers. My goodness, we already have 130 people on the broadcast. Thank you so much for sharing with your friends. It is very fun to be back. Oh, it won't let you swipe? Okay, well, try tapping on the little person icon and it might bring it up. I think you swipe to the right for iPhone and you swipe up on the Android. So try that. There we go. Oh my gosh, you guys are doing great. Thank you so much. So this week has been really fun for me because I'm back with all of you. And today's topic was recommended by Danny, one of our popular homeschool Brave Writer moms who seems to be peripatetic and everywhere I look. And I am excited to share this. I think she is not on the live broadcast, but I wanted to mention her so when she sees the replay, she'll know I was thinking of her. So what we're doing today is we're going to look at the habit of perfectionism, the bad habit, right? The one we want to get rid of, right? And it may take 2 scopes. We're going to go as long as we can. And then if I feel like it's too much, hey, Lindsay, if it is too much, then I will do a part 2. Okay, so today is for sure part 1. But it may be all that we do. We will see. Okay, so yes, here's the thing. We all know what perfectionism is, and we actually all know how to cure it. So why are we all still perfectionists? What is the drive that keeps this thing going when we know it's the enemy? I mean, really, when I was thinking about this scope, I'm like, everybody wants a scope on this because they all want to stop being perfectionists, right? And I think they all kind of know you have to let go of this compulsivity to do things right on the first try to get better at living a satisfying life. So if we all know that, what's the benefit of a scope on this subject? Well, I think it's because we're not very good at letting it go, right? Yeah, we keep trying it anyway. So as is my typical style, I did research and I started thinking about the dynamics. Sometimes if we can tease apart the specific issues and we can sort of look at them with a different lens, we can come up with some more tools in our toolkit for letting go of the things that just don't work for us. But I thought it might be fun to start out with, when is perfectionism appropriate? In other words, did you know there are some situations that call for absolute perfection? Absolute, like no excuses, like you better do it right. Yes, surgery. Surgery is a great example. Another one, I want all of my pilots to fly planes perfectly. Don't you? I don't want a pilot who's like, it's okay if we're at this altitude or that altitude. I pretty much want them to get it right every time. When I was in Hawaii recently for my little vacation, dropping bombs, another one, I actually have that on my list, military targets. I have a friend in Hawaii whose husband was a pilot, and she said one of the difficult issues in their marriage was that he would come home from flying to Japan or China, having lived this exacting, perfectionistic career, and he would expect the house to be neat. Why? Because he was in a perfectionistic zone. That was the requirement on him. Meanwhile, she was a mom of small children, and she was trying really hard to manage the demands of a lot of people in a chaotic environment. Perfectionism was her enemy. So the two of them came up with an arrangement where he would recover for 24 hours and not participate with the family while he sort of let go of that hypervigilance that was absolutely critical to his career. And then he could join in and participate in the family dynamic, which was messier, which was not perfect. So I want you to start by realizing that perfectionism, or the striving to do things perfectly, is not always inappropriate. It's not always inappropriate. So I wrote down some careers that really depend on people doing their jobs really, really well first. Yeah, science requires precision and accuracy in research. Pilots, surgery, hygiene when we're in contaminated places. Think about Flint, Michigan right now and their contaminated water. These mothers are working really hard to make sure that they've boiled the water well enough in order to be able to feed their families hygienic, sanitary water. Military targets, police work. Yes, finances. We want our accountants to do a good job, to not screw us up, right? Banks. I expect my bank statement to be perfect. I don't expect the bank to make mistakes. Building a bridge or a building or an elevator, we expect those standards. So let's at least admit up front that we have models of high standards everywhere, right? We have models, and we do, in this litigious society, expect perfect execution on some of our requirements for living. When I looked at the categories, Starbucks, when I looked at the categories, however, where we are allowed perfectionism as a goal, it's usually about life and safety, right? Sometimes around finances, yes. But what we're looking for is these critical conditions that protect us from death. Even finances can be remedied, right? But you can't really remedy if somebody accidentally nicks your artery and you bleed out in 10 minutes and die. That happened to a friend of mine in a very routine surgery. So that is the kind of perfection we do require, that when somebody's life is in my hands, I better do it right. If you're given a nursing baby right after birth or from adoption, a little baby who needs a bottle or needs a breast, it's up to you to make sure that those things happen on a regular basis. You can't be ho-hum about supervising a baby, right? All right. So I hope you realize that some of your interest in perfectionism is motivated by having seen it modeled. It's not an unreasonable desire to do things well or even to do them perfectly. There's another reason that we sometimes see perfectionism coming into the way that we do our homeschools and families. And I want to look at this. I'm going to get a little academic and sort of, vocabulary-ish right now, okay? I'm gonna use some words, kind of big language, and then we're gonna drill down to specifics. So hang in there with me for a minute, okay? Hey, Susan, glad you made it. So, perfectionists often are subject to a Western orientation, And what do I mean by that? What I mean is we have a variety of ways of understanding the world globally. And in the Western world, which English speakers are generally a part of, we see history as a big line. It's a linear approach. There's a beginning and there's an end. And there are goals to be met along that line. It's a linear view of reality. The word that is often used in sort of a theological way is called teleological. In theology and philosophy, that's the word. It means there's a final cause, an end from the design. It's goal-driven. It's linear. It means we start somewhere and we end somewhere, and we should have achieved something by then. In the Eastern mindset, the focus is not linear, it's circular. And it is process-oriented, not product-oriented. So here's my little, can you see this? Western would be more linear. Eastern would be more circular, cyclical, right? Western, Eastern. Now, both have value. There isn't one that's better than the other. They both have value. What we want to think about, yes, Western sounds like public school, certainly. What we want to think about when we're thinking about our homeschools and our identities and ourselves is how to keep these in balance. So yes, you have, let's say, a linear goal that your kids will wind up able to get into college if they want to. That sort of fits this trajectory, right? They start in kindergarten, they work their way through, and here they end up in college. And that's a very Western mindset. We have these set of criteria and objectives to hit, okay? However, we live in more of a cycle or a circular process orientation. If you think about the seasons, if you think about relationships, there's no goal in a relationship. There's only a context, right? There's not a goal in your relationship with your child. It's love, it's connection, it's enjoyment, it's facilitating communication, but there isn't a goal. There isn't a day where you go, we've graduated from relating to each other, right? So here's what's going on. You have this tension. You've got these teleological goals, right? The beginning and end point for your child. But then you've got a relationship that is process-oriented, that is cyclical, circular, has no beginning and no end. And these come into conflict. You suddenly want to go somewhere, but you're trying to push a circular experience into a teleological aim. Does that make sense? I don't want to overuse that word because it's kind of big and irritating. But I thought it might help you just sort of reframe. So what we're looking at when we're in the homeschool circumstance is we are trying to facilitate linear goals while in relationship. And the reason perfectionism becomes a problem for us is that we tend to use perfectionism to measure goals. And we let go of the process orientation of relationships whenever we focus exclusively on goals. Now, the reason that you brought your kids home and didn't send them to public school is this, right? This is what you wanted. You wanted a better relationship. You wanted to feel connected. You wanted learning to be a process and a cycle and for it to ebb and flow. You didn't want this. You didn't want grades and tests and, Common Core and standards and teacher evaluations, right? But when you are doubting, when you are insecure, you immediately go back to this. Why? Because you can measure it. It's very hard to measure the circle. It goes around and around and around. So when you're insecure, you go right back to the line. and it creates tension in the relationship. Okay, so this is sort of the baseline for today's talk. It sounds to me like you're getting it. Yes, your husband wants measurement. So do your in-laws. So does the soccer mom you talk to when your kids are playing soccer together. Everyone wants measurement. You want measurement. Even you want measurement. So here's the thing. Measurement is very Western. It's not to say they don't do it in the East. I know they do. I don't want to overdo the Western Eastern thing, but I want you to understand that every narrative movie that we watch starts with a conflict, has a crisis, and resolves. We are all about the narrative resolving, right? And the circle is not about resolving. It's about immersion in an experience. So let's now look at perfectionism with this understanding as the framework. Okay? Okay, the first thing I want to do is read a definition. This comes from Psychology Today, and I thought it was a good one. Okay, here we go. I've got my, hey, I'll show you. Let me show you really quick. Ah! Oh, maybe I shouldn't have shown you. I was going to show you my note cards. Yeah, here, I'll show you really quick. So this is what I'm doing. I'm reading off of this. So if you see me looking off camera, that's what I'm doing. Okay. Yes, hard to measure a circle. Exactly. Okay. For perfectionists, life is an endless report card on accomplishments or looks. It's a fast track to unhappiness, and perfectionism is often accompanied by depression and eating disorders. What makes perfectionism so toxic is that while those in its grip desire success, hear this now, they are most focused on avoiding failure. So theirs is a negative orientation. And love isn't a refuge. In fact, love feels way too conditional on performance. The need for perfection is usually transmitted in small ways from parents to children, some as silent as a raised eyebrow over a B rather than an A. Okay, I'm going to read this. Somebody said to read this again. I'm going to do it. For perfectionists, life is an endless report card on accomplishments or looks. It's a fast track to unhappiness, and perfectionism is often accompanied by depression and eating disorders. What makes perfectionism so toxic is that while those in its grip desire success, they are most focused on avoiding failure, so theirs is a negative orientation. And love isn't a refuge. In fact, love feels way too conditional on performance. The need for perfection is usually transmitted in small ways from parents to children, some as silent as a raised eyebrow over a B rather than an A. This is a definition from Psychology Today. In fact, if you go to Psychology Today and you just type in perfection definition, this is what comes up. So if you want to find it and copy it down, go get it, okay? So let me talk about this for a minute because it embodied a couple of the principles I want to look at today. First of all, an endless report card. Endless. Remember how you graduated from school and hoped you'd never be graded again? Well, you are every day. Guess by who? By yourself. You are grading yourself every day. Endless report card. One of the problems with perfectionism is this. You focus on failure. Yeah, when in its grip, you are focused on avoiding failure. Has there ever been a day where you've had the perfect day and at the end you said, yay, succeeded, I am perfect. I have done it, I have achieved perfection. Who's done that? Who's done that? Anyone? Occasionally you have a great day, but do you ever say, I've done it, I've achieved it, I'm perfect. It's perfect today. I am a perfect person. I executed everything perfectly. No one. So here you have this goal of being perfect and it never happens. It's endless. You focus for sure on your limits, right? You get to the end of the day and you've done 100 good things and that one thing that wasn't right glares at you. There is always something you can point to that was a failure. That's the endless report card. It's a terrible cycle. Secondly, someone telling you that they love you doesn't even fix it, because you doubt the truth of those feelings based on your own self-critique. Well, my husband says he loves me, but I know he doesn't really like how I keep house, therefore he doesn't really love me. Let's take this a step further. You've been hard on your kids all morning, and then you tell them you love them. Can they hear that? Can they hear that? It's really important that you think about how the relationship of communicating love fits with how you've treated your kids in that same day, in that same space. In fact, I loved that this definition included that the need for perfection is transmitted from parents to children, because that is one of my points. If your kids are perfectionists, it is likely because you are one. When a parent tells me my child's a perfectionist, he won't write because he hates misspelling words, I always wonder where he picked that up. Now, yes, there are kids who are more naturally neat, more naturally prone to needing things in order for their well-being, but that's different than perfectionism. When there is that level of paralysis where they cannot take a risk, somewhere they've adopted the idea that what they're doing sits on the edge of a knife. And if they fall the wrong direction, they are going to crash and there will be no one to catch them. That's what they're feeling. That's what perfectionism is. Remember how I said some jobs require perfectionism? The feeling of not being willing to make a spelling mistake when you're writing is the feeling that you will be sued by a lawyer for getting the wrong spelling. But spelling is not surgery. We want misspellings. So what do we do? Oh, Amy, good point. Acceptance and example. So here's what it looks like to create the context for risk-taking, because absolutely, perfectionism and risk-taking are antithetical. In fact, let's see if I can find his name. One of the guys I read this morning, his name is John Amadeo, Amodeo, a psychologist. He says a fulfilling life is dependent on intelligent risk-taking. We're going to come back to that. But if we think about our children and we think about their attempts in homeschool, what they need to know is they have the freedom to take risks. And these are considered intelligent risks simply because they live with us and they are trying to grow in their academics. All the risks they take in their education are intelligent risks, all of them. So it's okay to make an intelligent attempt at spelling. I want to reframe that for a minute. Let's just think about that. What if we told our kids, it's okay if you misspell? What if we said instead, it's okay if you take an intelligent risk? You attempt to spell it with the intelligence you have. What if we said that? Oh my God, I'm going to start writing that. That's going to show up everywhere now because that just hit me like a ton of bricks. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear how different that is than go ahead and misspell, it's okay. I won't mind. I won't mind. I won't mind. Oh my gosh, that's the same thing as saying perfect spelling is better, isn't it? But what if we said, you know what, when you're free writing, take intelligent spelling risks. Use that brain of yours to take a spelling risk because that's how you grow as a speller. And I will be impressed with any spelling risk you take. What if we reframed that? So here's what happens with parents. we start living this perfectionism in front of our kids. We complain relentlessly about not having cleaned up the dishes, about how the chaos of the house is driving us crazy, about how behind we are on the homeschool schedule, about how fat our thighs are, or how messy our hair is, or the fact that we didn't get called back by, whatever company we left a message for, or Time Warner didn't show up on time. We communicate a relentless amount of expectation that the universe suit our goals of perfection. And then we say to our kids, but don't worry about misspelling. And our kids don't believe us because all the experiential evidence tells them otherwise. They know you'll love them better if they spell correctly, right? This is what I want you to take in as we go through the material. My gosh, I haven't even gotten to point 1. And where are we? We're at 1:30. So we may need 2 scopes. We will see. But are you hearing what I'm saying? We have to go through a major reframe of our own sort of style of being for the sake of ourselves and our children, for the sake of our homeschools. Awesome. All right. So let's do the points. I think that laid a good foundation. Thank you for sharing. I can see some of you are sharing. So if you didn't share this broadcast yet, it would be great if you would do that now. Swipe to the right on iPhone, swipe up on the Android. Somebody mentions Brené Brown, Gifts of Imperfection. She's fabulous, of course. So definitely do that. Let's look at the points. So our first point was, perfection matters when life or safety depends on perfect execution. I couldn't read my words backwards. When life or safety depends on it, I am okay with you doing things perfectly. If you take your kids to the pool, I want you to supervise them perfectly. I do not want you to say, it's okay if one of them drowns, I got 4 others, right? I want you on them like a hawk. There is no way you can let them drown. In fact, I chose never to have a swimming pool in my backyard because I always told my husband I am not a good enough parent. I'm not a good enough parent. I cannot be a person who knows there is a drowning, piece of land in my backyard. I will leave the sliding glass door unlocked at the wrong time, and I don't want to have the memory of a child drowning on my watch. So this is the kind of thing that you have to know. If life and safety depend on it, we need perfect execution. And that is the only time I want you to be perfect. Yes, of course. How could you not be in counseling trying to recover from that? It would be terrifying. All right. The definition then was this: endless report cards, avoiding failure, and perfectionism means that love is conditional on performance. Okay? Right. All right. So here's our second point. Perfectionism is about failure, not success, right? It's about failure. It's not about success. It's about constantly beating back failure. So one of the issues that you want to remember then is to start noticing successes. That's one of the ways to cure your perfectionism. In the Homeschool Alliance, my coaching community, which I mentioned earlier, CoachJulieBogart.com, each month we post a thread of written narratives where parents write a long, essay-length piece about what went well in their homeschools. And they write it almost like a story. It's not, we got 5 math pages done, 2 spelling tests, 3 essays. It's not that. It's, here's one day, a slice of life out of this month. And I'm going to write the dialogue that happened with my children. I'm going to write about the atmosphere of the home. I'm going to write about what we actually did. What happened in the science experiment, not just that the experiment was completed. The more that you actually narrate your lived experience, the less need you have to be perfect. because you start to embrace the dynamics, the dimensionality, the nuances of your shared homeschool experience. Yes, you are not only celebrating the success, because there is a danger of just checkbox success, saying, yay, 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 I got it all done. Oh, shoot, I didn't get one thing done, I didn't quite succeed. That's not quite what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is inhabiting the lived experience and relishing it. Maybe relish is a good word. I like it because what it means is you're getting into the heart of the experience, not just the completion of it. We're focused on the process more than the completion, right? Yes. And you can do it later. Yes, relish the lived experience. Very good. All right, number 3. We're making progress now. What are the symptoms then of perfectionism in the homeschool? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I am going to show them one at a time, okay? So the first symptom is that your goals are too high. What does that mean? Goals too high. Take a screenshot if you need it, okay? Goals too high. I think you all know what that means. I just don't think that you always know how to evaluate what is too high and what is not too high. So I'll have a parent write to me and she'll say, I have an 8-year-old who is a terrible speller. Okay, that already shows me the parent's goal is too high. All 8-year-olds are terrible spellers. They've hardly been reading. They don't know yet all of the spellings automatically. So of course their spelling isn't good. So should we say they are terrible spellers, or should we simply say, I have an 8-year-old who's still learning to spell? Or I have an 8-year-old who spells like an 8-year-old. One of the problems in homeschool is none of us, except for the few who've been trained as teachers, but none of us have been trained in education. And we don't have a classroom of 25 kids to help us evaluate whether our kids are sort of along the same level as everybody else who's 8 years old, right? So one of the things that's valuable about homeschool community, whether it's Periscope or My Coaching Community or Facebook groups or your local support group, is you get to talk to parents of kids who are the same ages as your kids. And you can start within the homeschooling community to get a beat on what is a reasonable expectation. Yeah, trying to smush 2 years of curriculum into one. That is an unreasonable expectation, which is the second point. Goals too high, unrealistic expectations. These create the tendency towards perfectionism. If you think about, for example, weight loss, an unreasonable expectation is that you're going to have abs of steel and be a homeschooling mother. You can't do it because the people with abs of steel are devoting 6 hours a day and have very specific diets to make that happen. That's the kind of thinking that doesn't work. So you have to take into your own mind what is realistic about my family, my personality, my children's aptitude, and what I know about homeschooling in general. Caution, do not compare to public school children. They are on a different system, and their outcomes, while they may be similar in the end, will not be on the same pace as your homeschool. They simply won't. You are tutorial based, and you are working differently than the schools do. The schools have kids doing work that they don't actually master, and they move them along. So don't freak out when someone tells you, oh, my 8-year-old wrote, 12 writing assignments this year, and they were all 4 pages long. Don't worry about that. They were probably not very good pieces of writing. Schools push kids along with poor writing all the time, okay? So we want to focus on what is more normative for homeschool, right? And even within that, comparison is a total trap, but even within that, recognizing that you're working with an individual. How do we deal when all colleges are going to measure our kids? Well, first of all, just know you have 10 years, 8 to 18, to get them ready. And you will need some measurement. Remember, I didn't say that there would be no measurement. Some measurement but it's in the context of a relationship. And so we are trying to balance those two. So that's why I'm talking about hanging out with other home educators, taking an online class with Brave Writer, being a part of a homeschool coaching community, sharing on Periscope. Educate yourself. Learn what happens when you have an 8-year-old who needs to grow as a speller. Don't assume they're behind or ahead. Figure out what growth looks like. Focus on growth, not just on hitting goals. Okay? Another symptom. Image over substance. How many of you are addicted to Pinterest or Instagram for homeschooling? How many of you? I bet a lot of you are. And I know that for me, if I spend too much time on Instagram or Pinterest, I suddenly hate my house. How many of you have had that experience? You hate your house, or you hate your life, or you hate your exercise program, or you hate your homeschool, right? Because what happens is someone has taken a snapshot of the very best, the perfect, and now you're comparing your regular life to their perfect image. I remember you had to break up with Pinterest. I totally get it. Yeah, or your wardrobe, or your hairstyle, or your lipstick. It's not as shiny today, right? Thank you for saying I have a beautiful home. My home is a mess, and thank you for saying it's beautiful. I walk around all the time and I see the overstuffed bookcases, the piles of paper, the room where I threw everything when I was KonMariing my bedroom, and now it still looks terrible in the other room, right? Okay, this symptom, image over substance. You know, it's like being a skinny model who's unhealthy and dying because she's anorexic, right? Yeah, Mrs. Sayers, of course I am being a perfectionist about my house. That's the point. That's exactly the point. I'm putting the image over the substance. The substance of my home is warm. It's inviting. My kids want to be in it. They want their friends to be in it. Noah actually told me back in high school, that the first time he went and visited homes of public school friends, he said he felt like he was not allowed to sit down and that they felt sterile. And he came home to ours and loved it because he knew people lived here. So yeah, I'm all about that. But does it match my Pottery Barn catalog? No. And it's dangerous. In fact, it's dangerous because images rarely show human beings in ads, except, you know, models who could be interchangeable with clothing. But I mean, so often it's like an inviting space, but with no life being lived in it. Okay. So we've got goals too high, unrealistic expectations, image over substance. Number 4, endless quest syndrome. The endless quest syndrome. What do I mean by that? I have a friend named Dottie. She's a great friend. She does a lot of photography for us, and I owe a lot to her in my homeschool philosophy. She was a few years ahead of me. We lived in the same apartment complex, condo complex, for 5 years, and we did everything together. And she was from Michigan originally, but we were living in California at the time. She told me every time the sun was out, which in LA is every day, she felt pressure to get outside. She's like, it's a sunny day, we've got to go outside. I finally said, Dottie, they're all sunny. It's never going to stop. You cannot use all the sunny days in California. One day she said this, you know, I realized mothers are never happy. Whenever my kids are in the house reading a book, I think they should be outside playing. It's a sunny day. And whenever they're outside playing for a few sunny days, I think, I wonder if they're ever going to read a book. We're never happy. So there you have it, the endless quest syndrome. It's not even, you might be willing to live with a mess. You might not have your goals set too high. You might not even have unrealistic expectations, but you're always chasing that shiny thing that's not quite happening yet in your homeschool. This is one of the reasons I recommend one thing at a time, right? because the tendency is to not fully inhabit the thing you're in. The tendency is to think, oh, there's a better thing. I want to get to that better thing. I did this. It's already over. So we're on this endless treadmill. What if you were a runner, I'm a runner, and you were training for a race that didn't have a finish line? You never got to get a medal. You never got to be done. That's what it feels like. That is one aspect of perfectionism I think homeschoolers are especially guilty of. And one of the ways it shows up is purchasing new curriculum all the time, not really enjoying and maximizing what we already have. It's imagining that homeschool philosophy my friend is doing is automatically better than the one I believed in this year. Yeah, curriculum junkie, philosophy junkie, guru junkie, instead of turning inward and really knowing ourselves. Okay, and then the last one, the last fifth one, another symptom is what I call outside-in thinking. Outside-in thinking. So does everyone have all 5 of these? Go ahead and take a screenshot if you want to have all 5. There you go. All right, so what is outside-in thinking? I'll hold it up and just talk. Outside-in thinking is where you are focused on what other people see about you, not on how you feel about you on the inside. It's about what others see about you. It's from the outside. You're taking your cues from what other people see about your outsides. So if they were to drop in on your homeschool, you're doing this fantasy in your head. If someone were to drop in right now, what would they see? I used to have people email me all the time saying, oh, I wish you would just visit my homeschool, or I wish you could just visit, I wish I could visit yours. I wish I could see it in action. Well, the truth is, if you saw it in action, it would look very much like yours. We would have children doing math at the math table while the toddler was spilling orange juice and the baby needed to be nursed. And then I would go down to throw in a load of laundry and 2 kids would start fighting at the table. And then I would come up and settle the squabble while I helped someone with times tables, and then suddenly I wouldn't know where the toddler was. And I'd have to leave in the middle of the times tables to go upstairs and stop the toddler from emptying my Tampax. Right? Isn't this your life? Guess what? That is what homeschool looks like. That is what homeschool is. Yes, I can hold it up again. You got it? But we all think that there is someone out there having a homeschool that looks like this neat, tidy schedule where everyone is an engaged, passionate, delight-directed learner, right? Well, of course they are. They're delight-directed in little tiny bursts for 10 minutes at a time, for a day, for one afternoon, right? This is what I call in the Homeschool Alliance, and I've said it probably on Periscope too, you are stringing beads. These are pearls on a string. You never get a solid necklace. It's not like a solid gold chain. It's a chain, and occasionally you find a bead and you get to string it on, okay? And over time, you develop a necklace. And by the time your homeschool is over, you forget that there was ever any gap between those beads. You forget, you only remember the beads. This is what's so awesome. Remember the beads. Keep those written narratives. Remember the beads. You are going to see a mess. It's what homeschool is. There is not a homeschooling parent that hasn't lived your life. I'm telling you that right now. There is no one doing it right. You know what right is? Learning in a circle of relationship that results in a goal. It really is that. It is this messy, cyclical process that ends up bringing your kids to adulthood. Weird, right? The circle that makes the line. Perfect. Perfect, Lisa. Well put. That's what it is. That's what it is. So you can't make linear products. You know what, Rebecca? I love that idea. We need a real necklace with real beads to add. In fact, I have one of those Pandora necklaces with the little beads. I think we should all do that. I'm super excited about this right now. Oh, I'm super excited about this. I'm reading your comments. This is wonderful. Yeah, like mom beads. Okay, seriously, we're going to do this. I'm all about it. In fact, I think we have, something for the retreat. I think we actually have Rebecca Bison online with us right now, and she owns a little jewelry company, whatever she does. She represents one. And I think she needs to tell us how we can do this, because I think it would be very powerful. Yeah, even fake ones, it doesn't matter. I mean, it literally could be those, not pretty beads, right? It could be anything. It could just be rope with those ones that you use with your kids. And maybe it's powerful for your children. Maybe giving them some kind of beads, pony beads, right? Cheerios, there you go. And Rebecca too, yes. So and Jen too. Oh yes, we do. We have so much talent in this group. So what we could do, even for our kids, give them a string, and when they have a success for themselves, something they feel good about, they get to decide when they add a bead to their string. Wouldn't that be amazing? Because here's the thing. What we're admitting in this conversation, which is therapeutic for me too, by the way, we're admitting that there are gaps between successes. Perfectionism is focusing on the gaps. We don't want to focus on the gaps. We want to focus on those moments that match the ideal, the fantasy. We call this in Brave Writer payday. Do you guys know that? Some of you know that. I'm going to write it down for you, because this is a real thing. This is a real thing for us. Hashtag payday. When your kids do something that is like the fruit of all that you've wished for with them, it's a payday. You don't get money. No one's paying you to homeschool. The payday comes when your child is suddenly potty trained, or slept through the night, or was kind to a neighbor, or read for the first time, or washed his dish and put it in the dishwasher without being asked, or brushed his teeth at bedtime and did a thorough job. Right? Those are your paydays. Yeah. Oh, you often feel like you don't deserve a bead. Well, that's your perfectionist. So now I want you to give yourself a bead the next time you feel you don't deserve one, because I want you to be self-aware. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm really excited about this talk. How are we doing on time? Oh, we got 10 minutes. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Woo! This is a great talk. You guys are making it so good. It's way better than when I was preparing it, let me tell you. All right. So as a reminder, the Western versus Eastern mindset. We have goal-driven versus process-oriented, right? And both of these are necessary for growth. Both. A bead for self-awareness, exactly. Goal-driven, process-oriented, we want both. So let's look at the remedies. Are we ready? I think we're ready. Did I do number 4? Where's number 4? Wait a minute, I'm missing one. I'm missing a card. Hold on. Oh, you know what's really funny? I don't think there is a number 4. I think this was number 4. And I accidentally wrote number 5, so let me fix it. Okay, cool. All right, ready? Number 4. Julie is not perfect. Give me a bead. All right, ready. Number 4. Remedies. The first thing to know, they cannot be done perfectly, okay? The remedies cannot be done perfectly. We have to say that at the beginning, otherwise you're going to turn my remedies into a new criteria for self-loathing, and I'm not going to let that happen, okay? So no self-loathing allowed. We are done with self-loathing. So what is the first thing we need? We need self-awareness. Someone already said it. I say give yourself a bead every time you're aware you're being perfectionistic. Just say to yourself, you know what? I'm a bit of a perfectionist today. Oh, I'm aware. All right then. I deserve a bead. So much better than living perfectionism and taking it out on everybody and not knowing it's happening, right? All right. So the first way that we create some self-awareness is we make friends with our inner critic. Well, hello, inner critic. Nice to meet you. Make friends with her. Make friends. So the next time, because the key to growth here is gentleness and self-compassion. You got to have that. You got to be nice to yourself. So when you're being all perfectionistic on your kids, you can say something like, oh, hello, inner critic. I see you're here. Can I make you a cup of tea? Do you want chocolate? Should we take a walk? Is it a good idea for us to go sit in the bathroom with the door locked and cry for 5 minutes? Make friends with her. Find out what's underneath the criticism. Sometimes the inner critic is alerting you to past pain, right? So if you're suddenly loathing your body, where's that coming from? Where is it coming from? Who made you think that how you are right now isn't beautiful and wonderful? I read an amazing post way back, I think it was near the first of the year, all about rejecting the New Year's resolution to lose weight. This woman actually said her resolution was to gain weight. And she said, you know why? She wanted to take up more space in the universe. She doesn't want to diminish. She wants to grow and expand. She wants to take more space. She wants to be a bigger person, an expanded person. You know what? Wow. I had never thought about weight loss as a will to shrink and become smaller and more invisible. What a powerful statement. So when we're looking at these perfectionistic, self-critical comments, what is behind them? Make friends with your inner critic. Find out what's behind it. If you are putting pressure on your kids for homeschool, what's behind it? Fear that the colleges will reject them. Well, there are thousands of colleges in America. There are so many ways to do college. You can go to junior college. You can do the weird, crazy college my son Liam's in that didn't even require him to have a GPA submitted. There are millions of ways to do college. Are we really going to ruin our kids' 10 years old year because we're worried about 18? You don't even have to go to college. You might find out, like I'm finding out with Noah, he hates college. Third try, still hates it. So is that really the goal? Good. All right? So make friends with your inner critic and give her a name. I love that idea. Somebody give her a name. Let's brainstorm some great IC names, okay? Secondly, I have a little Eastern idea for you. Mindfulness. Who knows mindfulness practices? The art of paying attention. That's all mindfulness is. Om. Now, mindfulness can sound like sitting on a mountaintop, looking at the clouds, and being at peace. That's not what it is. Mindfulness is staying here. Staying here. When we do poetry tea time, I always tell parents, be at the table. Don't be thinking about the dental appointment at 2 p.m. Don't worry about math while you're having poetry tea time. Fully inhabit the tea time. Drink the tea. Taste the scone. Hear the delightful voice reading the poetry. Notice the floral pattern on the teacup. Peer through the window, not at the window. One of the reasons I love bird feeders, it makes your eyes look through the window, not at the window, right? Inhabit. Put down the iPhone. Be where you are. This week in the Homeschool Alliance, I have everybody focused on touch. There is something about touch that grounds you in a way that other senses don't. Get outside and get really cold. Then go take a really hot shower. Inhabit your senses. That's what mindfulness is. Pay attention. No judgment allowed. It's a judgment-free zone. You don't get to decide what you feel about things. You are simply paying attention. Someone asked what the Homeschool Alliance is. You can find out more about it here, CoachJulieBogart.com. It's my homeschool coaching community where I help parents become more effective home educators. Yes. Okay, so first, make friends. Ms. Persnickety, adorable. Make friends with your inner critic. Become mindful. Once you are mindful, Mrs. Crabtree, these are great, you guys. Once you are mindful, you want to do this other really sort of, I don't know, spiritual sounding thing called abide in presence. This is my, third grade artwork, right? Just putting it right out there for all of you to look at and possibly judge. Lori, you can use whatever word you like, sweetie. Abide in presence. So I actually looked this up. Abiding in presence to me sounds a little bit theoretical. And so does mindfulness, to be honest. So for me, mindfulness means being in contact with my senses. It's seeing, actually hearing, actually tasting, actually smelling, actually touching, right? That's for me what mindfulness is. It's paying attention to the waves of thought without evaluation. Oh, I'm feeling anxious. Oh, now I'm feeling excited. Oh, now I'm depressed. Oh, now I need love. Oh, now I want a cookie. Yeah, deep breathing helps a lot. I remember my mom telling me that she likes to do deep breathing when she drives. And I didn't even think about how powerful that is. I literally breathe in through the nose, exhale while I'm driving. It's incredibly restful. It helps me. So yes, without evaluation. Exactly, Karen. So what is abiding in presence then? Abiding in presence is simply at that moment being present. Oh yeah, the trip to Hawaii totally helps, Amy. It's much easier to abide there. Yeah, restart, re-inhabit. Abiding in presence then is being here now. Being here now. When I talk about the one thing principle, doing one thing at a time, it's being here now. Yes, some of you will pray. That will help you be here now. Do the spiritual practice that you know helps you. Breathing, pausing, becoming sensory focused, closing your eyes, noticing your surroundings. I know for me that when I'm in what I call the tuning fork mode, where everything is vibrating, my head, my hands, my body, I am in danger. That's when I'm in danger. It usually means someone's abusing me, or I'm being self-critical, or I'm allowing myself to be competitive for no good reason, right? So if I feel that vibration coming, the tuning fork, I know it's time to do something different. I have a yoga mat in my family room. Sometimes I just sit on it and I just do some gentle stretching just to sort of take that tension out of my body. I'm not always great at this either, you guys. I just sent an email, Jeanette will know, this morning, my little freak out email about all that I have to do. I have the same chatter in my brain without 5 kids at home that I had with 5 kids at home. I want you to hear that. The chatter in your brain is yours. It doesn't have anything to do with how many kids or what your husband's like. It is yours. It is built from childhood and it follows you to the grave. So you want to start finding ways to make friends with the inner critic, to be mindful through your senses, and to abide in the present moment, to appreciate it. You know, we did, on one of the scopes this summer, we did a whole, what I call rooting your feet and reaching to the sky. You imagine your feet being the bottom of a trunk and roots going deep into the earth. And then you take a deep breath and you reach to the sky and you just imagine that the ground is holding you and that the sky is covering you and that the universe surrounds you with protection and safety and belonging. It helps me. I hope it might help you. You sure should teach your kids how to do this. So valuable for them. Okay, and then the very last ones, we've done inner critic, mindfulness, abide in present, and then the last one I mentioned at the beginning, take intelligent risks. Allow for failure, for growth, because that's how you get wisdom. That's how you get wisdom. Wisdom is the fruit of intelligent risk-taking. And you know what? I'm almost afraid to use the word intelligent, because now you'll evaluate, is this a good risk? Is this an intelligent risk? The reason I use that word is that some of us are afraid of risk. And when we pair it with a word like intelligent, it makes it feel a little bit safer. Here's how I know you're all risk takers. You're all actually big time risk takers. You know why? You're homeschooling your children. Only very brave people take that on. And yet that is you. You are an intelligent risk taker right now. You've already said no to the system. Yeah, wisdom is the fruit of intelligent risk taking. Absolutely. So what you want to do as you're dealing with this demon of perfectionism that's never going to go away completely is respect it, know it, become friends with it, and then focus on process in relationship while you're hitting your goals. Do not become obsessed with the linear trajectory. Return to this when you get obsessed with this. Go back to relationship. Relationship is the foundation of everything you do, whether it's homeschooling or not. Everything comes from relationship. That was long. Let me make sure I've covered it all. Okay. I have. We did it in one scope. Oh, you guys are so brave. Are you kidding? Yeah, banishing perfectionism isn't possible. And if you try to do that perfectly, you'll feel bad about yourself. So we want to make friends with it. That's what mindfulness is. It's being aware. Oh, I have anger right now. And then communicating it. Yesterday I said, tell the freaking truth. Tell the truth. Don't try to be perfectly emotionally stable. That's not human. That's not real. That's not believable. Be human. You were created to be a human, not a god. You get to be human. You are brave. You are amazing. You are so conscientious. Only conscientious people are perfectionists. You're conscientious. You want the best for your family. You want the best for you. You want a great marriage. You want successful adults as a result of this massive investment of your adult life. Of course you do. And that is noble and praiseworthy. You may post the beat ideas you have on BraveScopes. Please do, Rebecca. In fact, if you are not yet a part of our BraveScopes community on Facebook, you gotta come. We're having so much fun talking. And we're helping everybody get good at periscoping and learning more, and we discuss all of my scopes there. Otherwise, join the Homeschool Alliance. It's going strong. And before I close, I need to tell you, the retreat sold out. So the Brave Writer Retreat in July, 13th to the 15th, is more than full. That said, we are still taking registrations because we always have cancellations, and last time our waiting list all got to go. So be sure you sign up, even if you didn't get in yet, you probably will. And it looks like we might be able to add 15 more spaces. We are making sure that's the number. We have to move some of the arrangements in the seating area to make extra space. So it's going to be in Cincinnati, and it is at this gorgeous grounds where they have weddings, and there's like a labyrinth and a great big bonfire. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have the best time. So yeah, just sign up, come, go to the homepage of bravewriter.com, and you will see at the top that there's a sign up now button. There is no cap on the Alliance. We take as many people as register and join us. We probably have somewhere between 40 and 60 people regularly posting, and then everybody else reads. A ton of lurkers. You do not have to post ever, not even once. There is a wealth of material going all the way back to September 2014 with, good quality readings, things you haven't read. They're not homeschool materials. They're about cognitive development and siblings without rivalry, and how to nourish an imaginative, enchanted space, all that kind of stuff. It's wonderful. Yeah, so welcome to all that Brave Writer and the Homeschool Alliance offers. Thank you today for being a part of this amazing scope. I think we will have more discussion around perfectionism. It's such a big topic. And I really appreciate the hearts and the turnout. This was wonderful. Tomorrow, I am going to talk about, see if I've got it here, books I love. All the books I love, nonfiction, fiction, children's, how-to books, everything that's been a big part of my growth and development in the last 10 or 15 years. So if you want to hear that one, it's tomorrow at 4, okay? All right, everybody. Love you all. Live honestly. Write bravely. Take intelligent risks. I'm Julie Bogart from Brave Writer. Bye, everyone.